Welcome back everyone, Ronin here. Now, I was asked to do a bit of a guide on classes. So I decided to start with what a rogue, or at least what I think a rogue should look like. This is Game Master mode, so it was easier to just put the stats in. Don't pay attention to the stats. I gave myself about the amount of slots I thought I had on my main when I did this. And I went over all the skills that are available in the game and picked out the ones that I think are actually really useful. Now, the thing you should know about classes, you can build it however you want or think you need for your group. You're not doing it for just one character. So for me, a rogue is really the physical damaging character and crowd control. That's how I like to play it anyway. I did notice that my rogue was very physical oriented in my first run, and I didn't notice I could have used a bit more magical damage while using the class. So I went around and looked at what I think you could get away with stats towards the end game. Put whatever you want in weapons after the fact, but I think around here is what you should aim for your base rogue. I gave 2 arrow thurs for at least teleport, 2 geomancer for at least impalement, which is more or less to help you with control in the fight, and other support skills. I put 1 in huntsman, and now is for being able to use a talent, which is duck duck goose. And I thought that was really good. It allows you to move without provoking attacks of opportunity. And I think that's really good as a rogue, because then if you're in melee within, 2 or 3 enemies that are there, you can just move and weave in and out. That's why I put 1 as huntsman. And if you wanted to use tactical retreat, it'd be a wise idea to give another point. 1 point is not a big deal. You're still going to benefit from it whenever you are attacking from height, but allow you to use other skills. And I think having a hybrid build is better, in my opinion, to be able to be versatile. Now, if this is purely a physical class, you're not going to build it like this. But I like having the skills to be versatile for any situation. Hydro for the 2 healing skills. I almost always have 2 Hydro for any of my classes, mainly so I can use the healing skills. Either it's on myself when I need it, or on skeletons. That way, if you see an undead and you want to do a shitload of damage, just heal them. Doesn't matter if you're not really high in intelligence, you're still going to do a shitload of damage with healing for very low AP cost. Restoration, for 1 AP, you're going to do more damage with it than you would with a normal attack. So combined with your backlash, which is also 1 AP attack, you're just doing a shitload of damage for 2 AP. It's going to be doing more than your base attack on anything. And then healing ritual will actually track 4 undead, or if there's only 2, it'll heal you at the same time. So it's really nice. Necro, I didn't put any in Necro. I didn't see any spells that I would think I absolutely need, but for 2 points in here, it couldn't hurt just to get a Corpse Widow out there. You can use other skills, I'll go over them, but Mosquito Swarm, Bloodsucker, a lot of other skills that are pretty handy at keeping you alive, but I don't think they're necessary. And mind you, these are just what base stats should look like. Gear can give you these points too. So don't think that you have to put these points to be able to reach these numbers or anything. Just remember that gear can give you what you need towards the end of the game. The only problem is if you're relying on gear and you swap a piece out, then you lose the use of certain abilities. Alright, Polymorph 2. There was a lot of skills that I really liked on my run that I'm going to go over. And it's just nice to have, like Tentacle Lash, for example. That was a really handy skill, especially early game. I used it less late game, but early game it was nice to have just that disarm. Pyro, I didn't put any points. You could always feel free to put some, even if it's not going to be high damaging, because Pyro is more or less about damage, and you're not going to have the int to back it up. But if you're playing with a geo-heavy group, and you just want somebody to throw a match in there with searing daggers, this could work out for you too. Just put a point. Totally change the way you play the game this way. Or just cause more fire wherever. Summoning, I didn't put any. You could put 1 point for an incarnate, an extra meat shield out there, especially early game. I'm sure it'll help you. I'm not too drawn to summoning anymore. I know a lot of people are saying it's really strong. I just don't think it's worth the investment into summoning to make it worth it. That's just me. To each their own, especially since it's 5% increase, not 10 anymore. Warfare 5. Oh, sorry, I think I overlooked Scoundrel. Scoundrel, of course. You're going to want as many points here as possible, but 5 will get you access to all the skills. So any points that you want to do for more crit multiplier, whenever you backstab, it's a guaranteed crit. So you want to do that crit. You want that crit damage to be high. So the crit multiplier is important to go high, and that is the skill to make that happen. So I would recommend either dual wielding if you plan on dodging, or I've actually been thinking a single-handed rogue build, and that's because shields are amazing. I'm kind of torn here. I just realized also I put 5 for warfare, but that's mainly for damage, because it's just a straight-out damage boost, but also gives you access to all the warrior skills. So that's why I put 5 and 5. But like I said, you don't have to invest that many points in there. You can let the gear boost you. Civil abilities, well, I just put my thieving and sneaking, but that's totally optional. All right, the ones I wasn't sure how many points we'd actually get for this, but these are the ones that I looked at and I actually found worked really well for a rogue. Even though I didn't have opportunist on my build, I kind of regret it because often enough enemies would just walk away from me, and this would have been pretty handy. So Duck Duck Goose just allowed me to move. I didn't actually have that. I should have on my build. Mnemonic, I get it on everyone now because 3 memory slots is great. And I think it's better than all skilled up and bigger and better. Bigger and better gives you 2 stat points. So if you get this and you put it on memory, well, that's kind of, you just lost a point value out of there. So you may as well get Mnemonic and take your 2 points and put them somewhere else later on. So I think Mnemonic is king there. Far Out Man works on certain skills, so it may not be a bad idea to use. But mainly you'll be in melee with your rogue. So this would come in handy when you're trying to run away or jump out of the way or whatever you do. Parry Master I put in there so you can dodge. But if you're going to go the route of the shield, then don't take it. That only works if you're dual wielding. And the pawn is amazing. Go in for an attack. Just move in a little bit closer so you can use your backlash. It's really great. Unless you're going to be the class that's going to be getting the last hits. For me, that's not what my rogue was about. My rogue was more or less about crowd control and being in places, going for the mage, going for the soft target first. Something that had low physical armor and that I didn't have to bring into a group. Because typically if I bring into a group the enemies or like teleport them into a gaggle, it would be to AoE them down with spells. So I would single out a mage and go deal with him. And it was easy to just crowd control them with like the battle stomp after that. Actually, if you're going to play or a damage intensive and you did not want to go with a hybrid build where you were like versatile as like I play, then I would go 10 here, 10 here, and then find a weapon style and just go with it. Even maybe some polymorph skills in there to just throw it in there. But you'll find that you'll be limited with your range. You may be able to move in, but if the rest of your group is really range intense, that may be fine for you. If you always have to close the gap, you may find you have some problems with certain situations where you just won't be able to help your mage finish off that little bit of a magic shield on an enemy or something. So you want to have that versatility. Now, I'm pretty sure I had more slots than this on my run, but I gave myself a lot of memory slots. 28, I think, is about what I had when I played my run. These are just what I slotted in that I would be comfortable using and find pretty versatile. Except for the rogue skills, you may want to omit 1 or 2 if you're not going to use them. Like Gag Order uses 3, and I found it pretty rare that with my rogue alone, I was able to silence an enemy. I love warfare skills. I mean, they're linked to a knockdown for this one. So having battering ram, you know, for 2 AP, you just run through. If the physical armor is actually low enough, you'll knock them down, and you can knock down a group. And early game, because you're not moving that fast per AP, it's actually great to just cover ground at the same time. It's faster than actually just walking up and doing an attack. You get a free hit as you're walking through or charging through them. Battle Stomp is great. Just another knockdown that's AoE, and it'll clear fire and if anything's like in your way and you don't want to get in there, like electrified water. I have Crippling Blow. I have used it. It's good, but I found that late game I removed it. So early game, if you have some spare slots, I think there's other skills that are better than Cripple. Because if you're in melee and you cripple him, he can still attack you. He just can't move. Blitz Attack, I used it a few times. I found it on a rogue to be lacking a little bit. I think it works great on a hard-hitting weapon and on a rogue because you're not going to get the backstabs from jump to jump. I don't think it's worth it. Maybe on a warrior, though. I put Bouncing Shield. Now, I gave myself a shield on this character, and I might try it on a future run. I thought it was 1 AP though. Because the scaling of Bouncing Shield, which scales with however much armor you have on the shield. For physical, you don't need strength, you don't need anything. You just throw the shield, and the shield's armor is being removed from the target. So even on a mage, on anything that's not using strength, anything that's just gonna have a shield. The shield adds so much survivability. The shield basically doubles your armor, so it'll add 100% of what you're wearing before the shield. Then you put a shield on, and it gives you basically exactly or around the amount that your whole total armor has. So you can have 1,000 armor value before the shield, and you put it on, you'll now have 2,000. It's so good. And then you'll do 1,000 damage for 2 targets, and it's really good. The bounce is actually fairly far, and it's within 5-meter range. You won't see where there's no highlight where it's gonna go, but really good skill. I highly recommend this skill. Anybody that's gonna use a shield. So even if you have a mage, just put 2 points. Actually, it's 1 point in warfare. So I'm debating if it's worth losing the dual wielding for this. All right, whirlwind I put in there, but the thing is with daggers, the range is gonna be really short. So again, it's kind of a situational thing. If you're a physical heavy group and you pile everybody in, then why not jump in, do whirlwind? But again, you're not getting backstabs. So with daggers, I don't think it's as powerful. I have Phoenix Dive. I have replaced it. Sometimes depends on if you're gonna have 2 points in Huntsman or not. Phoenix Dive is good for a second jump, because you're gonna have your cloak and dagger. You jump in if you need to. But Phoenix Dive is really good for just to close the gap. First aid, if you need to pick somebody up or cure somebody that has like well, crippled, knockdown, blind, silence, all those things. Just hover over, it'll tell you. So spending 1 AP to recover one of your allies, doesn't matter if it's for a heal or just to un-CC them. Glitter dust, if you want to prevent somebody, you know there's an enemy that goes invisible every like 3 turns or something, or if you want to lower their dodge rate. Some enemies have a really high dodge rate. I'm not sure if uncanny dodge or uncanny evasion, do I have it here? I didn't load it up. This should at least reduce the effect of that skill. Tactical retreat is my second jump. I love having 2 jumps on a rogue. It just makes you more efficient at covering grounds. And with that, it actually casts haste for 1 turn at the same time. So on the following turn, you'll have haste, and that just gives you an extra AP. So really, the skill is free to cast. So why not have tactical retreat on? Yeah, so you'll move faster on your next turn, or even on this turn, and on the next turn, you should get a free AP. Adrenaline. I've been having a love-hate relationship with adrenaline because it gives you 2 and removes 2. It shouldn't be used willy-nilly. It should be used for tactical reason if you're gonna manage to get a stun in or a kill. So really look at when you're gonna use this. So the next turn you're just not sitting there doing nothing. Maybe use it to go stealth, something. Just be prepared the next turn you won't be so useful. And especially if you're gonna be going glass cannon. That's another idea. I've been dabbling with glass cannon. It's really good. You're gonna lose out on 2 AP on the next turn, which it's not great considering you would get full AP no matter what, except when you use adrenaline. So really factor in when you're going to use this. A backlash, amazing skill. If you're using a dagger, you should be using backlash because you jump in from and behind them in 1 AP cost, and you're doing a full value of damage. Chloroform, amazing skill. It's one of your few early game skills that does magic armor damage. So if they have 0 magic armor, you're not doing any damage, but you're putting them to sleep. And for 1 AP, a ranged sleep skill is amazing. I would actually recommend, because I go with adrenaline on almost all my characters, throw that on your bar. A CC for 1 AP, just remember that you can have the access to this on anybody. Because you're not really caring for the damage, you're just caring for the sleep. Throwing knife is really good. It's not as OP as it used to be, where if you were in melee range and used it, you'd actually get an extra attack in. Doesn't work that way. But if you're at range and you can get behind a target, crit damage, it gives you about the same amount of damage that you would do on a normal attack, but from range. Corrupt Blade, I really liked it. It basically removes the need for decaying touch, because it'll do decaying and disease. Disease is really good because it reduces the physical damage the target will do. So even though it costs 3, adding those 2 status effects is really worth it. Even though you're going to lose out a bit on damage on that turn for the 3 AP cost. Sawtooth Knife, I think it's one of the most underrated skills from a rogue. A lot of people probably overlook it because it needs to have no armor to cause the bleeding effect. But the use of the skill is that it pierces armor, or does piercing damage. So if you're working on a target, so it has double usage there. If you want to cause bleed and let the target bleed out, like teleport it after, use chicken, then sawtooth knife. It's a dot, it's a damage over time. If it has no physical armor left, you use this and you can CC it and it's still going to take the damage ticks. Awesome. If not, what you can also do is if your mages are working on a target that's physically armored, just use sawtooth knife and you're going to go through the physical armor and not really combat or like fight against that armor while the mages are still bringing the target down. Cloak and daggers, jump, and you can use it from stealth. Gag order, I haven't used it much because it is 3 AP, and you have to be in melee range. It's a really close range other magic armor damage, but it costs 3. But if you can get the silence in there, so this is one of those skills that I actually stopped using because chloroform did more damage, which I don't know why. It's such a big difference. This matters with your weapon, and chloroform does not, clearly. So chloroform for the 1 AP is likely more useful than gag order. So really, I'm gonna remove that. Rupture tendon, amazing skill if the targets will move. What often I notice is that I'll rupture tendon, even if they take a half a step, whatever like meter they take damage. So if they move just even a little bit, they take a lot of damage. What I noticed though is if I use rupture tendon and teleport them away, often they wouldn't move, they would just stay there. So it counts as a CC if you do it on a melee character. If you do it on a mage, he's probably just gonna cast spells from a distance and it's not really gonna matter. But what works really well is if you use rupture tendon and chicken or terrify, whatever is gonna force them to move, they're gonna take a shitload of damage. This is really good. It almost one hit the last boss for me. There's an exploit there. Rupture tendon was really useful just for that fight. It did over 12 or 15,000 damage in one turn. Not even my turn, the enemy's turn. Alright, sleeping arm is basically a disarm ability. Does the same amount of damage as a normal attack. For me, when I got sleeping arm, because it lasts for 2 turns, I stopped using tentacle lash. Even though tentacle lash is a ranged ability and it scales differently than your weapon, just don't use it on a mage. Use it on a ranger, use it on a knight that's not going to do anything else once he's just sitting there with no weapons. Terrifying cruelty. Although it takes 3 AP, but the bleeding and terrify is really good. If you had enough, I doubt, unless you have adrenaline, so you use rupture tendon, terrifying cruelty, it's going to be a good combination. But again, that's a lot of AP right there. There's probably other skills, and that's if you're focusing on the damage aspect. But terrified for 1 turn, I mean, it's another turn you're not taking in damage. That's my goal in when I build something, is to avoid taking in damage as much as possible. Not just about dishing it out. Although death is the best CC. Cleanse wounds. Combining hydro and warfare together, it's a really good melee heal. But again, if you're fighting a lot of undead, and there's quite a few undead in this game, consider using that skill. That's a really big damage ability. Also, what I really like about this skill, it's one of the very few skills that will heal and remove decaying touch. So if you have decaying touch on, you're like, shit, what do I do? Can't pop potion, can't do whatever. Just use this, it'll actually heal you and remove decaying touch. There's a lot of times where you're like, oh shit, I'm just gonna die. This will save you. Restoration, again, ranged heal and on undead, it's worth more. For that 1 AP, it's worth a lot more than even a backlash, I would say. Healing ritual, great skill to bounce off undead, or heal some of your allies if they need it. This is why I don't really use many potions, because I have healing skills on almost everyone. Smoke cover, I actually didn't find that out until I played Game Master mode. So Aerothurge and Scoundrel, I was actually looking for a skill that does smoke cover. It's amazing because even if you had like a hallway or something, you could block off that hallway, so all the enemies have to walk up to actually attack you. Just be careful in stairs. Smoke acts kind of weird in stairs. But I'll be looking out for this one. Vacuum touch. I was considering getting it mainly for the suffocating damage for the magic armor, so it does help you tear through the armor with your allies. And it's only 1 AP, but then again, it's a melee ranged kill. But if you can get through the magic armor, it also silences. And silence is pretty crazy, because I'm pretty sure I can't cloak and dagger if I'm silenced. But yeah, doorway right there. If you hide, even if you hide just behind it, they have to move to attack you. Teleportation, amazing skill. I have it on all my characters. It's just great to take one of those enemies that are high up on a tower or something, just getting that height advantage against you. Just move them, bring them all close, get your AoE class to just burn them down. I'm going to miss it when I do my barbarian run. Nether swap, I haven't really used it much. The biggest sell here is that it's 1 AP. So you can swap positions. There's a lot of usage for this. Swap position with the enemy. So then you could move up for 1 AP. And then now the enemy would be in your group, so they can beat down on them. And then you can go do whatever on somebody else or come back. Far Out Man does work on this. and then come back in and do the damage. A lot of potential there too for the 1 AP. But again, you need 2 in arrow surge, so may as well because it's the same for teleportation. And using both in 1 turn could be good because you can port yourself in by using nether swap and grabbing somebody else and then moving there, and there's 2 enemies together for a low AP cost. But that doesn't have to be a rogue, that could be anybody. I was thinking venom coating, but just mind you, there's a lot of undead enemies, so you don't want to do poison damage on undead. So if you know what you're fighting, this actually adds a lot of poison damage to your weapon, and I think there's an AoE one. This will help you with your magic damage that you need to do sometimes. But then again, the problem with this is that you're fighting both armors. You're going to be fighting the physical and magical, but the thing is, I don't know why it's not healing its armor. You see, like, they're both going down. It's great if it has no armor at all, then you're doing the damage. Be mindful, you're going against both armor types. And I put impalement, I really like this one. If you're a physically heavy group, or even your character is physical heavy, but you want that cripple, so you're not going to use this cripple, you can use it with this. And the beauty of this skill is that you're going to leave a puddle behind. So you won't get crippled because of, unless you remove it first, and then you impale it. Because it is magical damage. See, now crippled. But it leaves oil behind. I mainly use it because it leaves oil, and you do not need a proper line of sight to cast it. That's the beauty of it. You can often cheese like behind a wagon or something. See, like I can shoot over the wagon. I could even like get behind here, even shoot it because it comes from under the ground. It'll work against the fence. It should anyway. But anyway, you'll see the target's highlight. It should work through the fence at the same time. And it's really for the oil, especially if you're going to be playing before the enemy. It's good to have this on your, at least in your memory. Alright, we have a poison wave. Somebody recommended it, and it makes total sense. Immunity to poison. If you're playing with an undead and he's just going crazy, going to town with poison damage along the field, why not just make yourself immune to poison for 1 turn? Then you can walk around, you can teleport in, get your targets, and then pour it out the next turn if you need to. Bone Cage, if you find that you're actually not good at avoiding damage. Chameleon Cloak. If you're going to be going with a rogue and you're not putting points into Constitution, you picked up Glass Cannon, you do not want to get attacked, get Chameleon Cloak. It's amazing. It's a long cooldown, but it is so effective. Even, you can put it on any character. For 1 polymorph point, it can make your whole group disappear for about 2 turns. 2.5 if you delay your last turn. So the beauty of it is that you go invisible. On the turn that you're going to be coming back, where's my bar here? Oh, I don't have a way to show you. But on the very last turn that it's active, just delay your turn in combat. Enemies will go by, not attack you unless they know where you are or you're next to an ally or whatever they do. Sometimes it's kind of weird there. Like global cooling or poison wave will fish you out. Rain. Or delay your turn, and on the next turn you basically get 2 turns to attack them before they get the 1. But that depends. Like if the rest of your group is getting pummeled, you want to come out of stealth. But Chicken, great skill, 2 turns. There's not many 2-turn CC out there, and then it forces them to run, so it goes well with that Rupture Tendon. Decaying Touch, amazing skill until I got the Corrupted Blade. It does it? It deals physical damage? I don't remember it dealing physical damage, but apparently I'm wrong. The targets will take piercing damage from healing spells. So, great. The targets will take piercing damage from healing spells, apparently. I don't remember seeing this. The thing about this is you need to remove their physical armor. I'm pretty sure it does not deal physical damage unless it's just recently changed. I'm annoyed now. But the thing is, you have to remove their physical armor for it to work. So unless they have Perseverance or something, or they cast the Fortify skill, I'm pretty sure it removes this. So there's no point in saying it's going to do piercing damage unless they have Perseverance, Shield Up, or Meld, or whatever. Something that's going to boost their physical armor. Flay Skin is great. The reduction of, you can use this on an enemy that has high resistances, it will strip them quite nice. I was noticing near level 18 or so, about a 50% reduction, which is huge because it can change somebody that's immune to an element to being pretty average to an element. Really cool. Flay skin is really nice to have. And it's ranged. So it's got a very far range. Nullified resistances. Let's go check. Actually, we can check the decaying touch. See, minus 50. For sure, he had no resistances. Let's check that out then. This shouldn't do damage. Well, I'll be damned. It didn't pierce though. It still took that damage away. So it did not pierce the physical armor. So it does do damage. Living on the Edge, I didn't use it, but I can see the usefulness for it. So if you're going to go in there, basically a kamikaze mission or whatever, and you don't want to die, although it costs 3 AP, that is a lot. Because you're not doing damage for this. You're just basically buying... Well, it's target, so it doesn't have to be you to use it. Because if you're going to be the damage, so maybe if you have a supporting class to use it. But they have to be pretty close to you to use it. Not saying they have to be really close to you. But if you're going to be a mage just standing far, you know, unless they have height advantage. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. But Far Out Man, we'll give it another 2 meters. If you're going to use it, try to use it somebody that has elemental affinity and cast like Rain of Blood or something underneath you. That way it's only 2 AP. That would be a really good way to use it. Medusa. Medusa I really liked on my run because it gave me a lot of CC. So for about like 4 turns, I think it lasts. If he doesn't have any physical armor, he should be petrified, unless he's immune petrified. So I'll use Medusa Head. And Petrifying Visage. Okay, it looks like he's immune, but it does an AoE damage and it scales off strength. So even though I'm a rogue, it's not great, but the range of it is pretty big. It was what, like probably 10 meters around you. And if you don't have much for AoE damage, or the rest of your group is doing magical damage, you can actually petrify a whole bunch of people for 1 turn. Sure, it costs 4 AP, but just casting this for the 2 turns that it lasts, sorry, not 3. The 2 turns that this lasts, anybody around you that doesn't have magic armor is getting petrified. You need an extra heal, especially early game at range. You can use Mosquito Swarm. And it's physical though, so it's a physical range ability. It can cause bleeding, but then it heals you. So it's a cool way to heal up and still do damage early game. I was considering this as a summon, is having a meat shield or bone shield in this case. It's really handy. The only thing it doesn't have. There are 2 ways to look at it now. Somebody mentioned on stream that he likes that it doesn't have any magic armor. By not having any magic armor, it means the enemies will target it. So summon it somewhere away from your group. Casters will likely attack it with spells and try to stun it. At least it's not hitting you. So even if it gets stunned or CC'd, whatever, it's just a target that enemies will attack that is not you. So it's a cheap way to just get rid of focus off you. It hits really hard. It's a really nice skill for not even having any points in summoning. Spider legs, only reason I put it on here is that you don't need to go through any of their magic armor or physical armor. It automatically inwebs them, so they can't move. So it's a really cool skill to just lay out there. Like anybody that steps in here, there you go. Can't move. You're stuck there. So instead of, if you're considering going with the spider legs, because it is 3 turns, forget about using geo skills. This is doing what you want it to do. It's slowing them down. If it's a knight or whatever, they're just dead in their tracks. They're not moving. Tentacle Lash, great early game. Disarm is nice. And because it's a ranged skill, rogue skills are mainly melee. So having a few skills to allow you to either finish off an enemy or crowd control them, really handy. As far as my source skills that I looked into, I didn't like the source level 3 skill, the level 5 scoundrel skill. But Daggers Drawn is really good for a single target. It does a lot of damage. The other one, if the enemy has less than 20% of their health, you outright kill them. Well, typically my rogue goes after full health targets and, you know, just chews through the armor and then CCs them. It doesn't really go out for, you know, a 20% then kill. I try to use my source to really get them to the CC point. So that's why I didn't like the other skill. But this is really nice. On an opener, if you're stealth and you're trying to open combat with this, don't do it. The enemy will turn around and face you, and you won't be doing backstabs for the other 4 hits. Because it is 4 AP. 4 AP is a lot for a skill. Phantom Knives, it's a decent range. It's that 10 meter or so range. It tells me 0. Okay, 8 meters. About 8 meters range. Really good. It does a lot of damage, and it'll hit anything. Can backstab, but because it's an AoE where it hits everything in this area, I mean, it's pretty rare you're gonna backstab, you know, everyone, but you're probably gonna backstab 1 or 2 if you line it up properly. I'm pretty sure if somebody is blocking another, like if you have an enemy blocking you, you know, behind him there's another enemy, try to move so you can have 2 lines to attack both enemies. You know what I mean? But it's a pretty strong skill. It's a normal attack worth of damage, and this is 5 times a normal attack of damage. Actually, it's a bit less, 3 to 4 instead of 5 to 7. It must be just my weapon damage, which is 3 to 4. With no boost, so no scaling on the Daggers Drawn. I saw Blessed Smoke Cloud. So let's remove this. Try that. Ah, yes, there is a range one. It's this one. Okay. So, Blessed Smoke Cloud, but you can place it wherever you want. So, probably I did there is, this will make you invisible. So it's actually pretty bad what I did there to show. Alright, sorry. Hopefully Zedified watches this and realizes this is where I got all messed up. I think we just covered Blessed Smoke. So I have Venomous Aura, which will work for everyone in the area, which is really good AoE skill to add some magic damage if you need to. It does do a lot of damage. If I can get in there on that, no. Wow, that web stays a long fucking time. Like seriously, a long ass time. It's only 1 source point, so it's really good to try and use. Forced Exchange. The only use I see for Forced Exchange is that enemies typically have a lot, especially Tactician, they have a lot of HP. So for you, you probably have very little, so you can likely abuse one of your squishy targets, or maybe one of your summons. Well, it has to be with you, it says. Alright, I made some changes. Now this has 64 health. So the nice thing with this is you could use the other skill that would maybe work with this. This is an area. The target character, so it's just you and that target. So I just lost a shitload of HP because it's percentage based. Now what you could do is if I'm low. Alright, so now I'm really low because I only have 18 HP, but percentage wise that's pretty low. It's blocked by physical armor. Hold on, let's hit it. Now I use it on him. He just lost like 4,400? No more than that. He lost 5,400 HP. I'm back to full health. So that's a really powerful skill that you can abuse. And that's really strong. So just make sure that maybe your allies hit you instead. And then boom, you just destroy it. Or if somebody chains you. So go to town on the enemy. You'll still take the damage. And then just swap. I mean, that's a lot of damage. It doesn't have to be the same enemy you can go to after to use Forced Exchange. And I put down Apotheosis. Then it removes the source cost for any of the skills. But for that though, you would need a shitload of memory because that takes 3. And then these take 2. But granted, you can use them on cooldown. And Phantom Knives, you can use it. How long does this last? For 2 turns. So you can only use it once anyway. Maybe twice. Depends on the turnaround of the skill. But unless you're fully loaded with just a whole bunch of those skills and you had the AP value to make it work. One thing I can see is this with skin graft might work. I don't know, there's some digging around to do for this, but it could be worth it. But that's a lot. So maybe, but even an end game, not to send too many spoilers, but end game source is not really a big deal. So I think it's just a loss of 3 slots, like 3 memory slots. That's a lot. Like, to me, I'd rather have more skills and more utility. So that covers about most of the skills that I wanted to cover. There's a ton of other skills you can use, and you can debate what skill you really like to use. So let me know what you think. But this would give me a really hybrid rogue for me. There are some skills I wanted to cover that you could potentially use as like a warrior, because you're already gonna go warfare. You can use onslaught, but onslaught doesn't really work because you won't backstab. And you're doing less damage, so you're better off if you're going to be a warrior for that one. But thick of the fight would be good. I mean, 2 turns, you're going to get a boost of damage, sure. And overpower. But overpower... Yeah, okay, so the scaling's off while we're in Game Master mode. Especially if you're using a shield. Your physical armor is going to be higher than your opponent's. So this, with a shield build, will knock down something that still has armor. So you know what I mean? Like, it kind of brings in that the shield rogue could be better than what I'm used to. 3 memory, but still only a 1 AP. So just so many options. So many options. So many ways to play. I'll cover other classes, but for rogue, that is a pretty versatile character right there. If you're going just straight out damage, then don't focus on having so much memory and just go with, you know, maybe more finesse. Lower the memory, you won't need all the utility skills, and then don't bother with learning all these skills that I gave this character. Some of them are really nice, like spider legs. Wow, the enemy will never get to move. A lot of these skills, it's not just for rogues. This is just how I think I would build my character. And in between certain fights, you switch a skill in and out for other ones. So if you don't really need to use, I don't know, if you don't like to use teleport, then you can use something else like impalement. You know what I mean? You can mix and match, but this is what I think a versatile rogue should look like. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think. I know it's a long blurb of me just talking. I've been talking for an hour now. Crazy. So you guys take care. Let me know what skill you really like to use on your rogue, and I'll catch you in the next video. We'll do other classes. At least I'm going to try to do one every couple days. Take care, everyone.